They lied to me. The hips lied to me.
The sun is shining. The birds are chirping. The bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Don't lie to me. I don't like it. I'm still crying with my fucking glasses on. Oh, goodness. What's going on, fam? Welcome, everyone, to episode 502 of the Daily Mother Swole, the most muscular Swolecast in the realm, because when I flex, you flex. We all flex our biceps. This is another part of the amazing Hips Don't Lie series leading up into the workshop on Thursday night. Thank you so much for joining me live every day at 12 noon Eastern Time here on Facebook. And thank you so much for following me also over on Instagram at Swolenormous. Remember, these episodes can all be watched and listened to. You can catch them on YouTube as well. And you can also listen to the podcast on SoundCloud and iTunes. So if you can't sit and watch the beard grow and watch the gains just snowball into amazing glory, you can't watch that live. Well, you can catch it in your ear holes and get banged with those knowledge nukes repeatedly in your ears. So the hips don't lie. Yesterday, I told you that I was gonna follow it up with some information about why you cannot just squat to activate your glutes. So let's just recap a little bit from yesterday's, let me bring this in a little bit closer. Let's recap from yesterday's episode a little bit and see what we got going on here, okay? So for those of you that are joining for the first time, we do have a full-blown hip workshop Thursday night at 8 p.m. in my premium group. The link is in the description, premium.swolenormous.com if you are interested in joining in for the hip workshop. Yesterday, we were discussing how the human body is out of alignment. So if these are the hips, and these are the legs, these are the shoulders, that we are focusing on this area right here being imbalanced, kind of like a seesaw. So when you have imbalanced muscle activation, imbalanced activity in the front relative to the rear and vice versa, you're going to have issues. So a lot of you watching have back problems, you have neck problems, you're having shoulder problems, you're having knee problems, and you could even be having foot problems, plantar fasciitis and inflammation in the bottom of the foot. And that can all be coming from, it doesn't mean it's limited to, but it can all be coming right here from the hips. So it could be coming from other areas as well. Doesn't mean that all of a sudden the hips are the only thing that's ever wrong. That's not true. But it's very likely because we sit down all the time at desks, right? We sit down in cars, we sit down at desks, we're just sitting and our hips are in a constantly flexed position. And I told you yesterday that squats won't work. And that's a little bit of a, I want you to watch this episode, I want you to tune in. So that's gonna grab your attention. Why don't squats work? Everyone always tells me to squat. Well, they will work, and squats are amazing, but why they won't work for activation? So this is for activation. So first off, we have to discuss what activation means. Activation, turning on. You have to turn on the muscle. Now, if you know what a squat is, a squat is a multi-joint exercise, which means it uses the ankle, it uses the knee, it uses the hip, it uses more than one joint. So it's integrative, okay? Integrative. Multi-joint is also known as integrative. So you're getting muscles working together, okay? So you're getting muscles, you're getting that coordination. Now, the interesting thing about a squat is that it will develop the glutes. What's great about the squat is it will hit the glutes. It's a great glute exercise, but the glutes have to be activated. And since we just discussed why the squats can't activate the glutes, turn on the glutes specifically, is because it's a multi-joint integrated exercise. So you're using an exercise that hits many muscles, you can't isolate one. So activation also has something to do with isolation, focusing on just one muscle. So we have to activate that one muscle. And to do so, we have to create a balance. Because this being the case, in order to activate a muscle, we need to be able to fire it. The issue with sitting down all day. Now here's going to be where you learn all the stuff. From sitting down all day, and let's say you're driving a car. Let's say this is a car, okay? And you're angry because you're in traffic, right? Angry person. Okay? This area gets tight, and the knees get tight too. Let's focus on the hips. Let's focus on this one for now. Forget the knees. This area gets tight because this angle is so short, and this angle is so open. So one part of the joint is really stretched and one part of the joint is really compressed. Does that make sense? Sure it does. So in order to fix this imbalance, we would like to technically straighten it out. So the muscles on the front here are getting extremely tight, and the muscles in the back here aren't necessarily getting weak, they're just getting shut down. We could say weak, they're getting shut down on the back side. This is the imbalance that I'm talking about. So the muscles on the front are just really getting stiff and brittle, and the ones in the back are also inhibiting. And it's inhibiting for a couple reasons. They're getting shut down for a couple reasons. One, there's pressure. You're sitting on your ass. And we'll get into that more tomorrow. We'll get into more about why it's shutting down. But I want to explain what happens when it gets shut down. So tomorrow, make sure you tune in for the why it's shutting down. Right now, I'm going to explain just the fact that it is shutting down. I'll get into more of the details tomorrow. Okay? The muscles in the front are getting tight because of the angle, because they're shortened. So with the body, if you don't use it, you'll lose it, right? If you don't use the muscle the way it's supposed to, if you don't stretch a muscle fully, if you don't contract the muscle a lot, if you don't move around, your body, you're just going to forget how to do it. Your body isn't going to maintain mobility and maintain strength if you're not using it. So thank you so much. I see the little alerts popping up. Thank you so much for sharing it. If you haven't shared the broadcast right now, please mash the share button. Just smash the share button. I really do appreciate it. It means everything, and it really helps a lot of people see the show. So shutting down and tightening. So how, without getting into why it's shutting down, let's explain what that shutdown means, and then how we can start to unshut it down, how we can start to turn it back on. So let's draw a brain. Let's just draw a head, okay? Ooh, smileys. Smileys. Person's very happy to be here. And then we go down here, and then we just have, let's call this glutes. The person's just a head with glutes. You like that? Head and glutes. That's it. No, fuck the arms, right? So he's got the arms, here, holding two suitcases because he's fucking yoked, walking around, grunting all the time. So, saying things like, like a gorilla. All right? So the brain is going to communicate with the muscles. So the brain up here is going to send a signal down to the glutes. But because of the imbalance in the hips, because the glute muscles are lengthened so much from sitting down, because they're in that position, they get deactivated. So what really happens is the brain loses communication. So imagine your brain having to send like a text message to the glutes. The brain has forgotten the glutes phone number, so it forgets how to contact the glutes. All right, stay with me. The brain forgets how to contact the glutes. So essentially, the glutes just shut down because the brain is no longer firing the glutes because it thinks you don't want to use them. You're always sitting on them. They're always in a flexed position. The hips are always flexed, so the glute muscles are always extended, and they get inhibited, so they get shut down. So that communication with your glutes disappears. So the brain loses communication. It's like losing a signal, right? So the brain loses the communication with the glutes. So I'm going to say right here, it forgets its number. It's like you forgetting someone's phone number. We all program shit into our phones right now, so that's almost irrelevant. But imagine if you forgot someone's phone number, you couldn't call them. The brain forgets the phone number for the glutes because it never calls the glutes because you never use it, right? You're always sitting on your ass, you're always sitting at a desk, you're not paying attention. I mean, you're not activating them. You're not actually, telling your brain to hit them. So we need to activate the muscles. So we need to activate those muscles that are shutting down. And in order to do so, we have to do what's known as an isolation exercise. And again, today is Wednesday, so tomorrow, Thursday night in the premium workshop, I'm going to be demonstrating all of these. I'm going to be demonstrating how to do this. I'm going to be demonstrating how to create more balance, a better balance in the hips. So the link is in the description if you want to join and see the entire breakdown of how we do this. I'm going to be explaining it more tomorrow in the daily show, but in the evening, in the workshop is when we're really going to take out the tools, and I'm going to show you how to actually do it. So isolation is what you need. Isolation, not integration, not yet. Not yet. So you don't need multi-joint. You want to isolate, you want to focus. And isolation just means focusing on really one muscle group, like one area, one muscle group. Best you can, best you can. You're never really just working on the glutes. You're always it's hard to focus on one muscle. You're not stimulating one thing. You are literally just, putting your body in a position where you can focus on the glutes more, okay? It's hard to be 100%. This is not like, you're not in a vacuum, you're not stimulating one muscle only, you're doing this in your living room. So you do your best to focus and put your body in a position where the glutes are the only thing that's really activating, really working. So you focus on one muscle group. Once you do that, you recreate that communication. So it really is, all it is you're recreating, all right, that communication. You're rebuilding the communication with the brain and the glutes. While you do this, you need to focus on the other side. So I mentioned before, there are two sides. So if you have a person, right? Let's look at this person, right? Sitting down at a wheel, those are the hips, right? Okay. One side of the joint here, the other side up here. Shorter angle here in the front, longer angle in the back. So we need to activate here. We need to isolate, which would activate the muscle. And then in the front here, we need to inhibit. And what's interesting is that now what we need to do is on the front, we need to do essentially what we were doing on the back to create that balance. So this has too much stretch and this has too much tight in very simple terms. So we're going to be doing exercises to activate the glutes. So isolation, operation glutes, right? And then inhibit is going to be muscles like the hip flexors. You've probably heard that. You probably don't know what the hip flexors actually are. Everyone just says, oh, the hip flexors, the muscles in the front. Yeah, there's a few of them. The hip flexors, including, for example, you have part of the quads, you have the rectus femoris, I'll just put rectus F, you have the TFL, you have other muscles there too, and the psoas and all that shit. So there's a lot of other ones that bring the leg up forward, and they all get tight, they all get shortened. And what's crazy and what's interesting about this, and we'll get more into this tomorrow, is that a lot of these muscles that have problems, this creates other problems, okay? Because when you have an imbalance, this like primary muscle, glutes get weak and hip flexors get tight. But that's not just the only issue. The problem is when those get tight and too weak, the game plan gets thrown off. And then other muscles like the hamstrings, other muscles like the adductors, other muscles like the calves, other muscles start in the lower back and like the spinal erectors, other muscles start playing more. other muscles start trying to get subbed into the game, and that's not what you want. So when there's an imbalance, other shit starts happening. That's why people chronically have back pain. That's why people chronically tear their hamstrings over and over again. Like, it's cyclical because you're not solving the original problem. So not only do we have to shut down the muscles that are too tight, working too hard, and activate the glutes that are working too weak, we have to also be aware of the other muscles that are now turned on and trying to fire. So that is the main concern. That is not necessarily how we're going to do it, but that's the premise of what we need to do to create that better balance. And tomorrow, going to be explaining why. I was explaining before how that the glutes are getting deactivated. Tomorrow I'm going to explain why they're being deactivated with sitting on them and in that lengthening position. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about inhibition. I'm going to talk a little bit more about creating that balance. We're going to take this and go a little bit deeper into how this fits into your practice and how this fits into your training, because it's one thing to watch this. I know a lot of you are watching, and thank you so much for sharing it. I know a lot of you watch this shit. A lot of you watch this shit and it sounds cool and it's wow, it's great, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But how do you apply it to your training? How do you apply it to your life? And that's a whole other concern, because it doesn't matter if you think it's cool, doesn't matter if you, yeah, that sounds great, doesn't matter if you just like it or share it. It matters also if you do it. So if you don't do it, it's not really worth anything, right? So it's very important with this information, what you actually do with the information. So if you like this stuff, if you have a lot of back problems, if you have a lot of hip problems, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go to my private Facebook group. I want you to join. I want you to hook into my private community, start watching up on all the workshops, start catching up with the material, because tomorrow we're gonna jump right into it and you can easily be up to speed, and the hip workshop can make a night and day difference in your training. So tomorrow night at 8 p.m., premium workshop right here on Facebook. So you can go to premium.swolenormous.com to sign up. The link is in the description. I think you will really, truly, truly enjoy the workshop and all the other workshops that we have to offer. Premium. Yes, Jack, premium love. I'm gonna check through some of these comments after we get offline. But activating these muscles, very important. Inhibiting the front, very important, but it's a lot more than that. This is the reason why squats won't work, because if you have an imbalance with your hips, if you have an imbalance with your glutes, and you are just simply, I'm just gonna do squats. Oh, my glutes aren't activating. Oh yeah, I have back pain, my core is weak. Let me just squat it out. You already have that imbalance. So when you go to do squats, the wrong muscles are gonna be working. The muscles you want to work are just not gonna fire because you haven't recreated that communication with the brain. So you haven't actually fixed the problem. And that's why people get hurt, because you start doing integrated exercises with muscles that aren't firing properly. You can't integrate shit that's not there, if that makes sense. You're trying to integrate things that aren't firing to begin with. So more tomorrow during the daily, and of course the entire hip workshop tomorrow night, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern time in my premium group. So if you're listening on the podcast or you're catching this later, the link is in the post description. Again, very simple, free to join, premium.swolenormous.com. You can use the trial, catch up on all the workshops. You can set up a one-on-one call with me. That's right. You can actually set up a fucking phone call with Papa Swolio, and I can help you individually with some of your issues. We can definitely touch base. So that's unheard of, and I like to get to know my members very closely if possible. So don't wait on that. This is going to be very fundamental as we lead into other workshops, but the hips are where a lot of the problems start. So we are going to start there, fixing it. And I love talking about the glutes. I love talking about activating the glutes. Super important. I really hope to see you there. Remember, link is in the description, premium.swolenormous.com. Hip workshop tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Get your coffee, get your gains. Thank you so much for joining me for the most muscular Swolecast in the realm, because when I flex, you flex. We all flex our biceps, and we grow our beards too. But ladies, you can't grow beards, nor should you, but you could be jelly. You can be jelly of the beard growth, but make sure you drink your coffee. Coffee helps grow beards. Same thing with Darth Vader mugs. Peace, McGee's, Deuce, Magoos. Catch you all tomorrow for 5:03. Thanks for joining every day, live at 12 noon Eastern Time. YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes. And remember, follow me over there on Instagram at Swolenormous for more nukes. Peace out. See you tomorrow.